Okay. Okay, we're live actually. Hi, Sai. Welcome to Venture with Grace.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for having me here. It's nice to finally have be on your podcast.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to start with some background information. So, you immigrated from India, and then actually, I feel like you have such an interesting creator journey because, like, I think the last time we chatted, you were telling me like how you kind of like grew this amount of following within like a year or two. It was like very impressive. Why don't we start with like, maybe how you landed your way in the US, and then obviously now you have such a great following on LinkedIn in the data science space. Maybe we could talk about like what are some core lessons that you've learned throughout this journey growing your following in the US.
Got it. Thank you for your kind words. So I'll give a short intro about myself. To start with, I'm from India, basically Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, and did my bachelor's in electrical, not into
Mhm,
data science. So I did a pivot to data science right after my bachelor's.
mhm,
In Jan 2022, I moved to United States to pursue my master's in data science at UConn.
mhm,
I've graduated from UConn in May 2023, and right after my master's, I started working as a lead data analyst at Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina. It's going to be 2 years in a month from now, so I'm excited for my 2 years mark at Blue Cross. And coming to content creation side of things, I started creating content in or around August or September 2023. So it's
mhm,
almost 1.5 year to 2 years. So it's gonna be 2 years in few months too. So I was able to grow my following from around 2K to 168K so far. It's been great journey. More than the numbers, what I value is the connections that I've made along the path and the journey. I've met some
mhm,
amazing people, be it job seekers, people who are pursuing masters, to founders and CEOs like you, and then amazing people who work at different companies who are way ahead of me in my career. So it's been amazing connecting with them, learning from their journeys, trying to implement those in my life, and then staying ahead. So it's been great journey on LinkedIn.
Mm, amazing. Okay, so you actually in the other podcast you were like talking about like the job seeking or like how do you apply an internship and everything. So I guess like what was your initial approach for LinkedIn? Because like met so many creators, but like very rarely I see a creator that just like pop up and then in the I guess like six figures within like a year or something. So I guess like maybe let's separate your career, LinkedIn career journey into like three different brackets. One is like the job seeker like version of yourself, like putting out a resume and then like actually accomplishing the profile. And then number two is like after you are getting a job, like I think that's like when the growth is something that's when the growth started happening um very fast. And why don't we talk about like the initial approach on like acquiring, let's say the first like 50K, and then maybe we categorize into like like from 50K to 100K, because I feel like, and then now it's obviously above that, but I guess like let's just categorize those. Like at the beginning initial was like 2K, you landed a job. What were something that you were doing for on LinkedIn that helped you landing the job? And then maybe we'll talk about like the growth.
Got it. To land the job, to be honest, I wasn't creating any content or I wasn't a creator or influencer back then.
Mhm,
But I wish I had done that. But that's a regret I
mhm,
have. But it's never too late to get started. But during my
mhm,
job search, what I've done is, but I've leveraged LinkedIn a lot. So I used my alumni network. I use it to reach out to people, sending them personalized requests. I use it to engage with creators post or engage with industry leaders in the LinkedIn, and then I usually connect with them, set up calls, one-on-one calls for guidance and mock interviews and other stuff. But I wasn't creating any content as such like I do right now. So
mhm,
that was back then when in May 2023 or June 2023 when I was a job seeker. I got my job in June 2023, and that's when the game started, as you mentioned. So I got my job, I was 2 months into it, and then I thought I need to give back, and then I had a lot of time, to be honest too. So I want to utilize my time, and
mhm,
then I started creating content. And then because I got the job, a lot of people used to reach out to me asking for resume review or LinkedIn or mock job seeking, like how to apply for jobs, how to ace the interviews, or how not to apply, uh, like different things people used to reach out to me. And that's when I thought, okay, there are people reaching out because I have gotten job, why not make it bigger? So and then I there was no plan of becoming a content creator, or I didn't even dream of having this number on my profile. So it just happened. So I started being consistent. So when I was at 2K or 2.5K, so I used to make around 2 to 3 posts per week, just some random thoughts about my job search, what I do at my work. It's not more about, it's not organized, or I would say. But then
Mhm.
when I started seeing some traction, I was at 5K or 6K. A few people did reach out to me because I was consistent to do some LinkedIn events or do some podcast. That's when I thought I needed to be organized and then be structured in my post. And then
Mhm.
I started having some plan, like this is what I need to do this week. I need to make at least 3 posts a week. So consistency beats perfection. That's one of the lessons that I have learned. So it's I showed up 4 to 5 times a week. When I think it's when I got started, and eventually with time, I grew my following to 25K.
Mhm.
And when I was at 25K, I started making carousels. Until then, I was only making text posts, which were working fine. But then my following grew exponentially when I started making carousels. And when I connected my journey with my learnings, say how this is how I got the interview, this is how I aced my interview, or this is how I would do it again if I were to start again. So sharing my personal journey with my learnings and resources, that will help aspiring data scientists or data analytics analysts professionals. That's what helped me grow professionally. So one framework that I would say that got me till 50K was using my story, which had a lot of rejections when I was starting out as an immigrant, as a fresher, within a graduate in tough market. So all these situations have helped me build a good story. And then how I tackle those, the solution part, the combination of my story and solution is what got me from 50K. And then from 50K, it was just being consistent, engaging with other creators, connecting with more creators, engaging with other, doing a lot of events. I've met amazing people like Mary. You know Mary. I've seen
Mhm.
her podcast with you. It was amazing. So
Oh, no. Yeah, so Mary was, helping us promoting my first conference. That's how we met, at the, comment section, and I really appreciate your support.
yeah, I think that's one of the best things about LinkedIn. You get to build your community. It's not just about people, but the community you build it, you are not just building people around you, but it helps in different ways that you might not even expect, that you get help from. So with Mary, Karun, Don, there are a lot more amazing creators that I've met,
Mhm.
collaborated on a lot of LinkedIn posts, events, webinar, podcasts. So the community is what the biggest asset for me.
For sure. Okay, so, by the way, speaking of a community, I wanna give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Verivend. If you're a GP or LP looking to simplify the capital raising and deployment process, Verivend is here to help. Trusted by over 800 funds and managing more than $2 billion in transactions, Verivend offers a secure, streamlined payment platform designed specifically for private capital markets. Say goodbye to manual reconciliation and repeated follow up. Raise and deploy capital faster and with greater transparency. Ready to make your fund operation smoother? Visit verifying.com and see how easy it can be. Okay, so going back to our original planet content, so like I guess when you were thinking about like I guess like when people were so it sounds like your content obviously when I looking at it or like when I see when we tried it last time, a lot of it were towards let's say educational or like helping people with like job related things. And like I wonder like so how would you think about the different pillars? Because like for example, it seems like you have the five biggest myths. That's like a series. And like a lot of the like it's like a job, I guess, like how do you define your community? Would you say they're like younger people trying to get an internship or get a job, or would you say it's more towards like people who are already working, let's with 3 to 5 year experience and then trying to advance their career? I guess like how do you define the target audience and how do you kind of cater towards their taste?
Got it. That's a great question. For me, my target audience has always been job seekers in the field of data science and data analytics, or people who are pivoting to data science or data analytics from a different field, so they can have experience in other fields. But then, so my target audience is mostly people who are entry level. I would say less than 3 to 5 years of experience. I mean, that's not an entry level, but 0 to 3 to 4 years is what I would say my target audience is. But then there are people who follow senior leaders too, who I connected with. They follow me, and then their support means a lot to me too. But my posts typically target to job seekers and then professionals breaking into data analytics and data science.
Mhm,
And then there the when I see when I, as a data person, I always look at my data, and then I build dashboards around my data, and then I always look at those numbers, what's working and what's not working with the likes, impressions, comments, reposts. So I see what's working and what's not working, and then I try to replicate it in my future posts. So that's
mhm.
I'm always excited about.
What tool do you use to track, or do you build the tool yourself?
No, LinkedIn provides us data to download, and then I put it in Power BI, and then I have a dashboard for myself. I track it.
Wait, which what does your dashboard look like?
So
So
really different KPIs like number of followers, number of impressions, by date, by location, by type of post. Is it image, or is it video, or is it text post, or is it resourceful post, with the different filters and different thresholds and
mhm,
timelines, obviously, and day of the week, or is it time of the day. So different
mhm,
timelines. As a data person, I'm always curious to know what's working, what's not working, and then I track my metrics on LinkedIn too. LinkedIn provides us high level data on the LinkedIn analytics, but then I love to dig deeper. So once in a
mhm.
while, I request data from LinkedIn and then put it in a dashboard and see. I love to dig myself in depth and then understand what exactly is happening with my account or with my post, basically.
I wonder, so how do you think about so like if like a non-technical person, how do they kind of like build the dashboard themselves? Is it unlovable, or like is there some existing tool that can like easily put together to build like a dashboard to study your
I
data?
think
Oh, sorry,
within
I just noticed that there's so many people comment. Just wanted to say hi. Hi, LinkedIn user. Um, and then hi, Melvin. Hi, VJ. Hi, Melvin again. Sorry. Okay, I just literally noticed the comments coming in. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Got it. Where was I? Yeah, with the rise in AI, so it has become a lot easier even for a non-technical person to build anything. Like we have been seeing this term called vibe coding, so it can be something like
Yeah.
vibe dashboarding or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
I would recommend them to get started with Tableau or Excel. Excel has amazing features to get started to build your first report or first dashboard. So
Mhm.
get hands-on. Like instead taking 150 certifications, I would just say get a data set from Kaggle or data.gov or any or web scrape yourself, get a data set, and then build a report or dashboard. That's the easiest way to get started. Learn by building. That's what I believe more than learn by watching hundreds of hours of content out there.
Mm. What would you say are like, I guess, like the most important metrics for you? Is that like engagement, or is this more towards like follower, or like how do you kind of like justify the data that you collected?
So for me, when I see that a post is successful, I my main metric is impressions. So I have a threshold,
Mhm,
like I know how many impressions that I'm gonna get based on an
mhm,
estimation that I have, because type of the content, if it's carousel or if it's image or if it's video or if it's just text post, I have estimation in
mhm,
my mind because I've been posting from past 1.5 year. So I know how it goes. But if it crosses the threshold, that's a success for me. More than number of likes, I care about impressions and number of comments. And when
mhm,
people DM me that this post has been helpful, that's a greater
mhm.
metric than impressions.
For sure. When you say wait, where do you download the data? It's like so when you click like followers. So like I mean, I think the data was like very um like it's very broad, right? So it's kind of um like so you just click on like a post impression, and then there's like the analytics. It's like post impression, followers, like profile reach and stuff like that. Is that the kind of data that you collect, or like where do you actually, I mean, can we download this data? Like
Yes.
where?
That's first part of the LinkedIn that you mentioned, LinkedIn Analytics. But if you go to settings and privacy settings, you can download your metadata.
Oh, okay. Completely did not know. Wow, learned something big. Wow. Okay. Love that. What are something like that? For example, I feel like you built such a strong brand in the data science space. I guess like what are something that you feel like resonated with the audience? And my biggest fear is like, let's say if you post like the 101 level of content, wouldn't the expert just like not resonating with it? Like, so for example, if I'm like a data scientist, I've worked at like Google for like the past 10 years and like I may not look at like, oh, how do I get a job in data science, right? But like how do you think about like for to attract like a broader range of audience, like what type of content actually performs?
For me, the kind type of content that performs well is when I connect my story with solutions, or my learnings, and then solution with resources that can help someone grow in their career, or put in their first step in the data field. So that's what worked me well so far. And then sharing resources, like this is how you can ace your interview, and mistakes to avoid, how to convince your interviewer, or how not to talk and how to talk during your interviews. So it's been more around interview prep, and also more around certifications, projects, about how to choose projects, how to build a project, which projects to choose, which projects not to choose, how
Mhm,
to present your projects in the interview. So the kind of post that helps audience in acing their interviews, or
mhm,
getting their first step in the industry, is
mhm,
what helped me most in building this authentic brand.
mhm. What are I guess, like, I like that what you said about, like, I feel like your content actually serves a very critical thing that, like, everybody kind of have to encounter because, like, every most people like, I mean, I live in Silicon Valley, so a lot of people just have fun just founders in general, but I think most people want to have a job or, like, have like, prepare for their next job, so it's, like, serving as, like, a tool that, like, everyone's, like, keeping their kind of, like, skills sharp or like interview skill sharp. And I wanted to, oh, another shout out to VJ. Okay, so I wanted to learn more about like, okay, so for example, I think like for a lot of the listeners here probably wanted to build a brand in their subcategory, right? Like whether it's like a VC or data or like just people randomly working in tech, right? What would be like one thing that they could do to kind of get themselves started?
The first thing is start with a niche. So for me, my niche was SQL, Python, job search,
Mhm,
because that's where I had most experience. And then the
mhm,
demand is also high in data space right now with the rise in AI. So
mhm,
do not try to cover everything. Be known for something first. So get
mhm,
that authentic brand and credibility first,
mhm,
and then move on to sharing what you have done. It's not just about what you know. So
mhm,
share some metrics, like this is what I've done to build a
mhm,
dashboard for my company, which got the millions of dollars, or during your job search. So show them what you have done rather than what you know. That's
mhm,
something. And make sure that your profile is working for you. So your banner needs to talk what you're doing right now, or what the audience can expect from you. If you have a portfolio, link it up, or if you have a strong headline, use it to your advantage. And try to teach through your content. So teaching is always is that's what builds your trust in your audience. So it shows that you know your stuff, and then you're willing to help job seekers or data professionals, or whatever your target audience is. And then the takeaway that I would say is, your brand isn't your logo, it's the proof of impact that you share over time. So make sure that you define your niche, start small, be consistent, and with matter of time, everything will change. So you're not gonna get 100K followers overnight, but it
mhm,
happens through time. You got to be consistent, engage with other creators or other posts, and then learn from their journeys. You got to cross collaborate. You
mhm,
will be having times where your post might get 5 likes, or not even
mhm,
five, might be with 0 likes and 0 comments or 0 reposts. So these there will be days where these things will happen, but you got to keep moving ahead. So it's not just end of the day. And there might be a day where you get 5,000 likes on a post, and that doesn't mean that you're set for the rest of your life for LinkedIn or Instagram. So it's just a journey again. So you'll have your ups and downs, and then you have your peaks, and then peaks at the top and peaks at the bottom. So make sure that you're consistent. That's what is one key thing that I would say. I've seen few creators who started their personal brand journey and then they posted for a few weeks. Because they didn't get traction, they would stop posting. And
Mhm,
that's not how it works. You gotta give first before you get a lot of value from the audience. So
mhm.
give it 3 to 6 months, and then you will see a lot of change in your personal brand.
Mm. I wonder what if, like, so for example, let's say when you're creating the content, do you use AI in anything? And if so, how do you use AI? And then also, like, I've seen that, like, for example, when you're sharing the like job opportunities from Google or like Apple, I guess like, do you leverage like AI to kind of like collect these information, or do you just like whenever you see it on LinkedIn, you kind of like add it to a spreadsheet? Like I guess how do you like leveraging AI in your content creation journey?
Got it. I'm not gonna lie that I won't be using AI. I'm using AI for sure,
Mhm,
but it's not end to end. So what I do is I have my Notion doc. I Whenever I get ideas, I
mhm,
write them on my Notion doc or WhatsApp group, which I have it with myself. And then
mhm,
during the weekend, what I do is I sit for 6 to 7 hours during the weekend. I schedule everything for 7 days.
mhm,
So I write my initial thoughts on the ideas that I have, and then I put it in LLM, be it ChatGPT or Claude, and then I fine tune it if there's something that I'm missing, or if there's an effective way of doing it, or if there's an effective way of writing it. So I
mhm,
don't use AI for idea generation or writing content, but I use AI for enhancing my content or making it professional. Or uh, we all know the first three lines matter. The hook, you need to make them audience click that see more button. So I make sure that I create some professional hook, and then which like a clickbait or something in content creation words. So I use AI to enhance my content, but I don't use it to write my content. Coming to job
mhm,
posting mentioned, I typically scrape them myself. I mean, I have the automation setup, but then I don't use it much unless I need to scrape like hundreds of jobs. Once in a while, I do that. I scrape hundreds of jobs and then I create it in a Google Sheet and then I share the link with the audience. But I only do it once in 3 to 6 months. But every week, what I do is whenever I find a job opportunity, I save it and then I add it to my list and then just post it, because it's
mhm.
only 7 to 10 opportunities that I share every week. But whenever I have to do it in bulk, I'm gonna use AI and then scrape everything from web.
Mm, for sure. Wait, how do you scribe? Which tool do you use like to scribe? I mean,
Python.
scribe things because I fear, like, I think for LinkedIn specifically, I think like whenever you use a third party tool, there's like a trigger that like I just feel like it just got your account blocked or anything. Like, is there any like block save tool that you feel like are very helpful to, I wouldn't say script, but like, take down those on like certain opportunities or like, tracking stuff.
I'm not scraping from LinkedIn for sure. As you mentioned, LinkedIn has a lot of policies that are
Mhm,
very tight and then
mhm,
difficult to break. So I'm not putting my LinkedIn account in risk. So I scrape from
mhm,
web, like from the Google careers directly or Microsoft
mhm,
careers directly or any X companies
mhm.
career website directly. So I'm not scraping from LinkedIn.
Mhm, for sure. When you were writing the hoax, what do you find actually works for you? Because I feel like your hooks are very strong, I would say. And for like any great LinkedIn person, I feel like it's yeah, I feel like the first like sentence or something is like critical. How do you come up with things to say in the first sentence?
That's the key, I would say. So I have been A/B testing on the to like different hooks. So
Mhm,
when you create FOMO, fear of missing out to the audience, that's when audience tap on see more, and then they would love to read till the end. Even the So it's just like even the content might be amazing, but then if you're not letting them read, that might be a problem. So you gotta
mhm,
use a way to make them read till the end to create the
mhm,
amazing content that you have written, put in a lot of efforts. So that's when I use AI. I ask it to create FOMO or a different tool, like say 5 tools to ace your next
mhm,
interview. Or when you mention number, that's what gets the audience. Like I built a machine learning model from scratch in 2 hours. So
mhm,
these are the 5 things that I would do if I were starting over again. So when you mention the number and then create FOMO, or when you connect your story personally with the audience, like this is what I would do if I were to start again, So using your story and also using numbers is
Mhm.
what has helped me so far.
Mm. What about like when it comes to like creating the picture, the Canva and everything? So like how do you think about like the cadence of like sending, like let's say a video post or audio post or just like a screenshot. I mean, I saw that some of them are like not screenshot, but like a kind of like screen recording of something. How do you come up with like the format of the content?
Got it. If it's too technical, I go with video. So I would rather record myself doing it and then share a video. But if it's something like a cheat sheet kind of thing where you want everything in one place, I have an editor who does infographic for me. So I give him the
Mhm.
content and then he converts into a single page infographic content. But if it's something that I want to explain in depth, like say concept in Python, I want to explain a machine learning model in depth, or I want to walk them through how to ace their interviews. That's when I go to carousels. I use Canva for editing my
Mhm.
carousels, and I do that on my own. So
Mhm.
depending on, or if it's just a personal story, I just
Mhm.
it's just text post with the image of me sometimes. But I do not prefer using my image unless it's required on, or unless it's my personal story. I wouldn't use it for a random post unless my story is involved in it, or unless I'm involved in it.
Mm.
So depending on type of content, if it's cheat sheet kind of thing, it's infographics. If it's my personal story, it's a text plus image. If it's
Mhm.
something, a concept that I want to explain to audience on interview prep, or drilling down to a SQL concept or a Python concept or a Power BI concept, it's infographic. But if
Mhm.
it's something that I'm building actually using a tool, it's video.
Mm, for sure. How do you think about like so for example, you do that every weekend. Like how do you get that much content ideas? Like you mentioned you will put them into like a Notion doc. Like what does it kind of look like? Is that just like a bunch of links or like is there like a thought, just like a thought kind of like you take notes of like, oh, today we should talk about job search and tomorrow we should talk about the data analyst interview prep series or like these like 10-day challenges or whatever. Like how do you think about like the content calendar as whole?
So for me, there's no such thing as content calendar. During the week, I get few ideas. So I
Mhm,
write the single line ideas, and then I write them on my WhatsApp. And then
mhm,
during the weekend, I use my Notion to write the content about it. So
mhm,
there's always this thing, I forgot the term, threshold for content creation, where there
mhm,
have been days that I was out of content. So that's when I repurpose my old post. So
mhm,
when we are starting out, we have lot of ideas, and
mhm,
then but there's no traction. So that's when these posts come into play. Now that I have
mhm,
audience, I leverage those posts because those were not seen by many. And even if it was seen by many, it's okay to repurpose your content once in a while. But I don't repurpose all the time. But there have been cases where I had to repurpose, I had to change the hook, or maybe in 2023 the tool was booming. Right now in 2025 we see new tool every day. Maybe
mhm,
there's a better tool for interview prep, maybe there's a better tool for machine learning models, or
mhm,
maybe there's a better tool for job search. So I update the content, I repurpose it. And sometimes when I go to vacation, I want to be fully like I want to enjoy for to the core. So wherein I repurpose my previous content, I just schedule everything just so that the LinkedIn algorithm uh, won't penalize me for not posting. So
mhm.
so that my LinkedIn account keeps active. So I do that once in a while whenever I go to vacation.
That's crazy. Do you feel like the first minute engagement matter? Like, do you feel like your job performs better? Not job, but like your post performs better when at the very beginning there was like a fluctuate amount of like people just like flunked in to like engage with your first few posts, or like do you feel like it doesn't matter? Sometimes it can like rise up after a while.
It matters for sure, but not every time. But I have seen cases out of 100, let's say around 20 to 25 cases I have seen where the
Mhm,
initial engagement was too high in first 20 to 40 minutes, and then boom, it goes on like way down. So there have been cases, but then the initial engagement do matter for sure. The first 2 hours is what matters the most for me. If I get around 30K impressions in first 2 hours, I'm sure that it's gonna hit 100K or 200K impressions. But for me, the mark is around 10K per hour for the first hour and 30K for the second hour. If the post crosses these both threshold, I'm sure that it goes viral. But if the
mhm,
number is around 5K in first hour, I'm sure it's not gonna work.
mhm. Wow, for sure. Wait, let's talk about like comments because like I think one thing I'm so like impressed about you is like, you are amazing at commenting. I felt like commenting is like one of the hardest things. By the way, hi LinkedIn use oh no, YouTube user. Um like his name or her name is I. Wanted to say hi to you. Anyway, so how do you think about like comments? Because I feel like that's like the hardest. But like right now, you see like on LinkedIn, there's like some of my comments is getting hundreds or thousands of impression on or something. Like obviously, like people have been saying that for like years on like comment is a piece of content, obviously. So like how do you like I think one mental challenge I personally felt like most people might have, it's like, oh, if I comment this basically equals to a share and then like all my friends will see like this comment or like my boss or like whatever, right? So how do you think about the commenting piece? Like who do you comment? How do you comment on it? And then like also, like, thinking about, like, having really thoughtful stuff to say is, like, another challenge, right? Like, you kinda, like, don't wanna just comment for comment, but on the other hand, it's like but, like, if you think too deep about stuff, like, you will never come in and then, like, I guess, like, how do you think about getting your head out of the commenting jail to, like, comment on stuff? And how do you think about, like, when you don't have stuff to comment, like, how do you think about stuff to comment? Also, like, there's so many bots that are, like, commenting too, so, like, what's a whole, strategy you feel like people should take on, like, commenting?
Got it. That's a great question again. So commenting is the way to go build your network. So my network, if I have 100 people in my network, most of my
Mhm.
network was built in comment section more than my DMs. So
I
that's where
actually feel like yeah, that's how we meet too, and then I feel like you
exactly.
were so very generous with that too, like, you were, like, commenting on this post, and I was like, "Wow," like, and I opened your profile, and I was like, "Wow, that's so impressive."
So I have built my network using comment section. That's where the most connections and most hiring happens. So if you're starting out, that's something that I haven't done, which I regret again. So I wish I
Mhm,
had started engaging with other creators' post or other post or normal post earlier. So
mhm,
the more you engage with other posts, the more engagement you get, and it builds your network. It builds your visibility more than your post when you're starting out.
mhm.
When you're
Oh,
at 50K,
I have another question for you. Sorry, when you were thinking about commenting, how do you think about like what if you don't know this guy or girl? Like for me, like when people comment, like I almost always comment back, or like if I see it, I'll like try to comment back. But like if like I mean, I have comment on other people's stuff and then they just like completely ignore. So I'm like, should I keep commenting on those people? Like it's like if they just ignore your comment, do you keep commenting on them, or like do you just like also take mental notes like to move forward? And sometimes it's like really hard to kind of like also if you don't know the person, like when you comment, will it be like I feel like there's like a lot of fear for people to like just like go out there out of your comfort zone to come out like a complete stranger's post.
got it. That's where the visibility comes in. If you want your profile to be
Mhm,
visible, if
mhm,
you want to build your personal brand, you need to come out of your comfort zone. Like you're
mhm,
posting, that means that your friends will see, your family will see, your colleagues will see, your manager might see, or a stranger might see. So the point of building making post is to build your visibility. So the
mhm,
same thing applies to your comments.
mhm,
So if you want to, let's say you want to look, you're looking for jobs, you're looking for a job, the interviewer is going to be a stranger, the recruiter is going to be a stranger, every
mhm,
person you meet along the process is a stranger. So never feel uncomfortable commenting on a post, because the
mhm,
point of making a post or point of making a comment is to build your network or build your
mhm,
visibility. So if we are not
mhm,
trying to come out of the comfort zone, the growth never
mhm,
happens, is what I feel. At least for me
mhm,
personally, we need to come out of comfort zone. At start, even I had that. Like my friends were
mhm,
like, "Why are you posting or why are you commenting?" And then they would tease like, you know how it works in Asian countries.
mhm,
So you would get a lot of teasing from friends, family. But then with time, they saw the value that I was giving, then the value that I was getting from the audience, and then they
mhm,
stopped doing that. So with time, you will get there. At start, it's very difficult. Your friends, your family, or people might mock you. You would get hate comments or negative comments, but it's just that means that you're growing. That's a good signal, to be honest. So that
oh,
means that you're doing something different. than what a normal human would do or normal user
Ooh, that's
would do.
true. Yeah, that's so true. Wait, hi, Hamaza. Hamza? Hamza. Okay.
Hamza.
Okay. I have another question on this. So like basically I think the other part is like what to comment, right? Like it's not like I don't want to comment on you, but it's more of like, okay, so should I write like a paragraph and then the AI comments is like solving part of the problem, but like everyone's comment is so generic. So how do you kind of like comment on something, but it's also like kind of insightful? Because like another problem is like, I mean, I don't know because of like since the data space, I feel like the data science space in on LinkedIn is like probably the biggest like or the most robust influencer space, right? But for like for certain other industry, maybe people you have to see. Let's say you're like a dentist, you live in Ohio, and then you try to like network with other, I guess, dentists or real estate agent or something. But like, how do you think about the way to like comment in a way that's like not cringe because you may see them the next day, right? You may actually see this person at a party or like at a industry gathering, but on the other hand, like you kind of like also want to expose yourself to their audience or like, to audience in general. Like, how do you think about that basically?
Got it. That's a great question, and that's something that I faced when I was starting out. So what I used to do is even the thing. It's the same thing that I do right now. So when I read a post, if I learn something, I mention that this is what I mean. I learned that this. Thank you for sharing this. I have
Mhm,
learned that this is what that
mhm,
I need to do in my next post or maybe next interview. So if it's something that I learned, I mention that learning in the comment. Or if it's something that I knew already, I make sure that I mention that like this is so true, or I agree with your point on you need to ask questions to stand out in the interview. And then I would add one more tip, maybe be confident, make sure that your communication skills are met, and then you are mentioning impact in your w- answering, or use a star framework while you're answering. So if it's something that I know already, I agree with them and then add my 1 cent or 2 cents. And then if it's something that I've learned, I mention my learnings. But if it's something that I don't agree with, I usually try to avoid putting negative comments. But if it's something that misleading, I try to raise awareness. But if it's
mhm,
something that's wrong, I don't comment that it's wrong. But if it's something that's misleading, that
mhm,
misleads job seekers or aspiring data people, I try to create awareness. But I usually don't make negative comments saying
mhm,
that people you're wrong. But if it pulls down someone, or if it's wrong information, or if it's not useful, I mean in a wrong way, I try to create
mhm.
awareness. But I try to avoid negative comments and saying that you're wrong, that I am right, something like that.
For sure. Also, hi, Jess. Okay, so I want to ask, like, another thing is like, do you only comment on like, because I think one thing you did really amazing is like you comment on. I feel like it's kind of like everybody's posts. So it's like it's not like because this is like a smaller creator or like a smaller account, you just don't comment. But like I see a lot of like trends or like on LinkedIn, it's like you just comment on like five big account. I guess like how do you mentally kind of like think about who to comment and like does it kind of matter if you comment on a big account then you get like a lot of views but like versus like a smaller account or like how do you think about commenting as a strategy to pick like who to comment to?
So for me, commenting is not about getting views or getting my followers or high,
Mhm.
but it's about me being visible and then me connecting with new people. So I'm always excited to meet new
Right.
people. That's how I met you.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about
Did you
making
hit
good
30K
connections.
yet on like the connection?
I'm at 15K right now.
Okay, that's you still have a lot of room, I feel like.
Yeah. So for me, it's more about connecting with new people. So I don't care if if you have just started, if it's your first post or if it's your thousandth post.
Mhm.
So if I like the content, I make sure I comment on it. If I have something to comment on, be it correct or wrong, or with my learnings or whatever it
Mhm.
is, or if you got laid off, I would like to commenting for reach so that they can get a opportunity if someone my network knows them.
Mhm.
So but I do have few accounts in mind that I inspire. Like there are few people that I
Mhm.
admire, like Jack Wilson, Aishwarya, Mary Nova, Dawn.
Oh
So
yeah, Ashwarya Love. Okay, my
yeah,
she's a friend too. Yeah.
Amazing. She's
Mhm,
an inspiration for me. Like,
mhm,
there are few people in my mind that I want to connect with, or I inspire them or admire them a lot. So I make sure to comment on their post to maybe few days down the line, a few weeks down the line, I might get a chance to
mhm,
talk with them on a call like this, or maybe they might become my friend in near future when I move to San Francisco. So
mhm,
there are few people in my mind I would like, that I will comment for sure. But then apart from those few 20 to 30 people, if I like the post, I don't see if you have one follower or 1 million followers. I just put a comment with my thoughts.
for sure. Hi, Harsha. Okay, and then
Sure.
hi, Ikjeen, Ikni. Okay, sorry, I cannot pronounce people's name. Okay, so wait, I have another question. So, like, basically, when you're thinking about, oh, also hi, Mustafa. Obviously, people are like loving the coming out of the comfort zone part. Um, Everyone mentioned about the comfort zone thing. Okay, so another thing is like when you mentioned about like there's 20, 30 creator that you really like look up to, and obviously they're like big creators, and like how do you like actually manually check their page, or like back in time there's like a notification bar that's like a little button or something that you click on it, but like how do you kind of engage with their content? Because I kind of feel like on my feed I see the sometimes like the most random stuff ever, and then like I feel like today I'm gonna pick up like your energy on, like, commenting just because I feel like I'm a liker, so, like, I like stuff, but I don't comment. I rarely comment, like, I the only thing I comment is, like, "Congrats," because, like, people's, like, job updates or something. I feel like it's, like, very hard for me to be, like, think of something really witty to say. But yeah, like, how do you, like, kind of track the 20 people? Because
Got
like,
it.
I don't even see them on my feed. Like, even I want to track these people, like, I don't even see my friends on my feed. It's, like, a bunch of, like, job updates. Like, obviously, I just congrats everyone. Maybe LinkedIn algo would detect that I like to
Yes.
comment on congrats.
So that's where the I would like to segment this to two parts of my journey. When I was
Mhm,
starting out, I used to hit the bell icon on Aishwarya's profile or Jack's profile, so I would get notified
mhm,
when they post, and then I used to comment. But then as I grew, I get hundreds of notifications every day, so that notification wouldn't matter. So that's where the algorithm comes in. When you start commenting on, like, say, a person ABC's post for a few days, the
mhm,
algorithm understands that you want to engage with this person's post, and then it would come on your
mhm,
feed directly. So
mhm,
right now, these days, I don't have any notification set up for any creator's post.
mhm,
It's just that algorithm knows that I want to comment on
mhm,
Aishwarya's post, I want to comment on Mary's post, or Don's post,
mhm,
or another creator's post, or it doesn't have to be creator. It can be any LinkedIn user. When you start engaging with a user's content regularly, the algorithm understands that, okay, and then it puts my post in their feed and then their post in my feed,
mhm.
along with few other posts, the recommendation systems in data terms. So the algorithm understands it pretty good in few days. So when I was starting out, as you mentioned, I was using the notifications and bell icon to get the notification. But right now, even if I use it, I don't even know if I can find it in my notifications. I get hundreds, 200s every day, so it's very difficult to find out the notification. So I leverage the algorithm. When you comment on a user's post for 3 to 4 days straight, the fifth day it comes on your feed automatically.
Wow. Okay. So, um, it's called customer or user
Yep, the
customization.
recommendation system. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanna showcase some of your posts, right? Like, so I feel like those are like oh, sorry. Oh my god. Sorry. How do I stop sharing? Sorry. I noticed that like I need to like actually clear my screen. Okay, so sorry. Okay, let me just quickly share screen. Um should I share? Okay, so yeah, I don't think there's anything confidential here. But anyway,
Yeah.
so let's say, like, for example, a post like this, I just thought, like, for all these like data, like, how do you really like track a lot of these like amazing data? Because like I want to track these, but like I constantly feel like I don't have enough energy to find, the cloud for data, Google Cloud training, and everything else. Right. Obviously, this is amazing. I'll like it. I'm a liker. So I like, so how do you like actually put together like a bunch of like useful resources? Cause I think that's one of the hardest part, right? So like to like actually come up with the content to post. Cause I think like to whenever you dump, let's say like there's apparently like I think 36 link within this one post. And I think one thing is like I've heard that you're not supposed to post links that will like, ban by the algorithm or something. But and then when you post like 36 of them, I'm like, I feel like I already shared all the resources of the week. Like, how do you come up with like a bunch of stuff like this to actually share?
Most of these where I've used this during my journey when I was during in
Mhm,
my masters or when I was doing my certifications or building projects
mhm,
out there. And then I have them stored in my again Notion doc or Google Doc, and then I
mhm,
leverage those. But as in I post, I find new links. I mean, we see new tool every day coming up. We see new
mhm,
course every day coming up from people we admire or people we look up to. And then I save those for my learning purposes. And then when the time comes, I put it into a
mhm.
post. So whenever I need to use it, I can leverage it. Or whenever I share something, I make sure to see the reviews or the number of reviews or the uh, text reviews or number of stars it has and everything before I put it out there. So these are the few things that I take care. And then whenever I create a post that this tool is amazing, I make sure to save that post. And then when the time comes, I put that post or I put that tool that another creator has shared in my post too. So and we can leverage this post multiple times. Right now, if you see that post, I split it into 9 sections. Maybe you can split that into 9 posts. For me, I try to put it everything in one post. But then if at all, if a time comes that I have to focus only on SQL, only on Power BI, only on machine learning, I can split this post into nine small posts and then leverage that.
Oh, got it, got it. Okay, I think that's actually very helpful for people. And then also love the SQL cheat sheet. Like that's yeah, that's just a lot of like stuff that you have to like yeah, also like I just feel like there's so much content that you have to produce like daily. That's like a full-time job almost. And you already have a full-time job. So that's what I thought was like super impressive. Also, LinkedIn user asks like, do you track the stats on what people like or just focus on what you found useful? I think both probably, right?
Yep.
What do you think?
Yes. So I like to I usually track everything on my post and
Mhm,
everything starting from likes, comments, repost, impressions,
mhm.
impressions to followers ratio, likes to followers ratio. So and then type of content, is it a resource content or is it a meme? So I track everything from end to end. Being a data person, I'm very curious person. So I would like to replicate on what worked and what did not work, and then come up with new ideas. So I think the curiosity mind is what helped me grow faster.
Yeah. Wait, I want you to basically track my data too. Like whenever if you're actually building a data product, I'll be the first one to buy. Like I literally want to track, but I'm like very I feel like I really want to make that happen with Lovable, but like hopefully it will just like solve my problem. But like I don't know how you track them, but also the ratio, does the ratio matter? So for example, like to is there any patterns that you've seen on your data? Because I've seen no correlation. So like sometimes like when you got like a million impressions and then the post could got like 40 likes, 80 likes.
Yeah,
But yeah, when it comes to like, the biggest like most popular post, like I like let's say you got like 300 likes, but it may be just like 10K impressions or something. Like is there like any correlation between those two or like you feel like it's like not much?
there is correlation, but when you drill down deeper, so when you take video post, your impressions and followers correlation might not be there because LinkedIn, from what I've read, LinkedIn is trying to push videos, so that's the reason that we might get more impressions on LinkedIn, but then the conversion to followers might stay low. Whereas if you take carousels, for me it's been the most highly converted to followers. So if I get 100k impressions on a carousel post, I know that I'll get at least 500 followers. So it's around 0.3 to 0.7% for me when it's a carousel post. But it's when it's a meme post, like when I want to make a funny post on data or job search, even if I get million impressions, I'm not gonna get followers because people would connect to it personally, but then they wouldn't follow you for memes unless you portray yourself as a data memer. People wouldn't follow you for posting memes. Whereas if it's a carousel, because people are following me to learn from it, people follow us. Whereas video, it's because of the algorithm. And same with personal story. If you portray yourself as a person where you would want your audience to connect to your personal story,
Mhm,
the conversions from impressions to followers is high.
mhm,
Whereas if it's the other way, you might not get the conversions from impressions to followers. So there is correlation only when you split out the post by text, text plus image, text plus video, text plus carousel, text plus meme. So only when you drill down deeper, there's correlation, but at the high level, there is no correlation.
I actually have another question on this. So like I think like for the content that like I think a lot of the people who are trying to post, but maybe they are like younger person in the category. So like for example, I think when you started, you were like, quite early stage in your career and obviously you have a great success. But like for the people who feel like, oh, I'm not an expert, why am I explaining this thing? Like, so for example, let's say like, what kind of content is actually useful? Like, so for example, let's say if I just explain what is venture capital, what is LP or whatever, maybe it will expose to the audience that are like completely have no idea in venture capital. But like the problem is like it won't really build thought leadership as like you can just Google it, right? So like how do you think about balance between like as a young professional to post something, but also like kind of like insightful to people, and then people treat you seriously as an industry expert, then people are just like, oh, isn't this just recycled from Google and ChatGPT? Like how do you kind of like balance the expertise versus like being a young person?
So it depends on how you want your audience to know yourself. Like, do you want to portray yourself as an expert, or you want to build your personal brand or just visibility? So it depends on what you want. Let's say if you want to build your personal brand or visibility, you don't have to be an expert. Or if you want to portray yourself an expert, your content needs to speak that. Like, you can't just be posting random stuff to portray yourself as an expert. But to build your personal brand, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to put yourself out there, share your journey, share your learnings, share what worked, what did not work,
Mhm,
or what you can do to make your journey
mhm,
better or insightful. So, and coming to age part of it and experience part of it, it never matters. When I started posting, I was 22, now I'm 24. And I've seen people who are at 16, 17 who are way successful than me just by building content on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTubers. We have seen millionaire YouTubers who are at 15 years of age or 20 years of age. So age is just a number. If you have something to share to the world, just hit the post button and see your life changing in few years. And coming to the imposter syndrome, like you might, if there are 100 people who are knowledgeable than you, there might be 100,000 people who have less knowledge than you. That's what I would focus on. To my strategies have always been, I know I'm not the expert, but I know there are people who might not have the knowledge that I have. I would
mhm,
focus on the people who are just starting out because I have started there. I know what works, what doesn't work when I
mhm,
was there 2 years back. So I would focus on those people
mhm,
to reach to people who are 10 years ahead of me, 20 years ahead of me. So I would target someone who's starting out and then reach to someone who has been there, done that, uh, 10 years before me or 5 years before me. Or right now I've just started my career 2 years back, and then
mhm,
I would like to reach out, uh, make connections with people who have been in senior levels, industry experts, directors, VPs, founders, CEOs, VCs. So I would rather teach people who are just starting out to leverage the people who have been way ahead of me in my career. That's always been my strategy. So I share what I know to reach people who knows what I don't know.
Okay, got it. So basically, instead of like sharing to people who like may already know, like who is like, the Zach or like Ashwarya of the world, and then you're sharing to me or like other people who are like other industry expert, but they just like want to learn about data science. Yeah, I think that's such a great way to like target. But did you have like a particular person in mind? Because I went to like another seminar or like a real life event. Basically, the person was saying like as a lot of like big Twitter followers, following accounts, they were saying like how they build Twitter is like you just like imagine you have like one person in mind, and then you just like creating stuff for that one person. But like, who is that one person for you when you first started, or do you just like create? Because when you're creating for me or like five other people who are in like other categories, like it's probably very different.
For me, there's no such one person like that. I have multiple people who I admire and look up to. So it's
Mhm,
always been like, as I mentioned, I never thought this number would come to my profile. So it just happened to be.
mhm,
I found this niche. I didn't even know there's something called content creation or personal brand when I started out.
Mhm,
So when I started posting content, that's when I got to know these
mhm,
two terms: content creation, personal branding, influencer, all these terms. So when I started being consistent, engaging with other creators, cross collaborating, it happened to be that I got that. But there's no one such person. So I do have a bunch of people that I admire and look up to, as I mentioned.
mm. For sure. I think another part is like, how do you think about expand into other platforms? Are you like thinking about Instagram or like YouTube? Honestly, I've been like at the beginning, people are like really focusing on X, right? Like, but like nowadays, like I feel like I see a major shift on like people are just like popping up on Instagram, right? Like I feel like especially the data influencer or like just like literally, I think tech influencers are migrating or something. Like not migrating, but I think like they're building like a second home
That was
in
fun. Yeah.
Instagram, right? So how do you think about like which platforms to, expand your um community onto or like how do you think about that?
That's a great question, and I've been thinking it from past few months. So I started with LinkedIn. Recently, I started my newsletter called the
Right.
Data Hustle.
Oh
I
yeah,
hope.
everyone should just like subscribe to your newsletter. You already have like 10K or 11K or something followers.
Yeah, it's
I'm pretty
been
sure
two.
I'm one of them, but I just yeah.
Thank you, thank you. It's been 2 months since I've started Data Hustle, so it's right now at 12,000 subscribers. It's going great. Have had some great initial success, but
Mhm,
in future, maybe 2026 is what I aim to start my Instagram. So until then, I'll be sticking to text-based and newsletter content.
mhm.
So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone should check out this newsletter.
Thank you, thank you. So it's been great. For now, I'm sticking to LinkedIn and newsletter, but maybe
Mhm,
in near future, a few months down the line, I'll get into
mhm.
Instagram, maybe YouTube, few years down the line, but then I'll stick to Instagram starting 2026.
Wow, okay, you and I both.
Yes,
So,
we need
how
to
do you
diversify the audience for sure.
yeah, wait, how do you actually create, like, the newsletter? Because I feel like you must be exhausted if you already have, like, to create so much stuff on LinkedIn, and then you have to, like, migrate onto a different thing, so how do you kinda, like, repurpose content to a degree to, like, a different platform?
I think it's never easy, but it's always worth it. So until I
Mhm,
started my newsletter, I was only spending like 10 hours, I mean, 7 hours creating content, and then probably a few hours engaging with other content on LinkedIn. But when I started my newsletter, I had to put in more hours every week. But it's always worth it. I see the value in newsletter right now when I started creating content. So,
mhm.
but it always worth it. Like what I do generally to keep myself not exhausted is I always have this movie or a song playing on in my another monitor right now. I mean, there's a movie playing in my another monitor.
Yeah,
So
uh,
I keep a movie or a song playing, and then I type
mhm,
it in my main screen. So I type my LinkedIn post, or I edit
mhm,
here, making carousel, or I type my newsletter.
mhm.
I make an infographic. So there's one screen for my technical work. There's one screen for my mental focus or whatever it is to keep me not exhausted.
Oh my god, I totally feel you. I feel like yeah, I don't know how you balance, content creation and content consumption. Like, last question before we jump into a fire round is oh, by the way, LinkedIn user, I love your comment. Thank you. It's amazing. Grace asking such sharp questions. Thank you so much because every day, honestly, this is what I need to hear. Right? Okay, so Sais answer feel like they should be classified. Okay, amazing. Okay, so last question is like, what's your content diet kind of look like? So, what do you consume every day to keep yourself informed in the data space?
So few things. I read a lot of newsletters.
Mhm,
That's a way to keep updated and keep upskilling. And
mhm,
whenever there's a new course out there that's related to my target role in the future, so
mhm.
I make sure to take that course, even if it costs me some money. I see it as an investment more
I
than
know that you're like a Udemy king, basically.
yeah, Udemy or Coursera, or if it's a person like Zach or Aishwarya, whenever they do a workshop or a course or
Mhm,
any other person where I see value in the course, and if it's
mhm,
aligned to my target role or my aspiring role, I make sure to
mhm,
take that course even if it costs me a few bucks. And then reading a lot of newsletters, articles on Medium, reading company blogs, so DoorDash blogs, or there are a few more blogs that I do read once in a while. So and listening to a lot of podcasts on YouTube.
Mhm.
and be it business podcast or entrepreneurial podcast or just in how to automate stuff using AI. So I see a new tool every day in market using AI. So I make sure that I follow these, and obviously the LinkedIn community is amazing. So
Mhm.
there are amazing creators who are uh, the moment there's something gets released, they make a post on it. So there are few people, and then I get to know from them, and then that's how I dig deeper, and then I make a post on it, or I learn something from them. So articles, podcast, courses, few ways that I stay updated.
Love that. Okay, so, we're doing a 1-minute fire round. What's your favorite book?
I don't read books to be honest, but one book that that I've started reading is uh, How to Ace Your Data Science Interview by Nick Singh.
Oh, Nick was a past guest on our show too.
I love
Oh,
Nick's book.
okay, amazing. Shout out to Nick. Who made the biggest impact in your career?
My current manager, he has been really helpful in guiding me in my current role because it's my first ever job. So it's been really great.
Mm, who would you invite to a dinner party?
Dinner party, my parents.
Love. Where can we find you outside of work?
Could you repeat that?
Where can we find you outside of work?
Outside of work, you would find me in badminton court.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say it. You can find me on LinkedIn. But wow, amazing site. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a fun conversation. As
Thank you
usual.
for having me, Grace. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Harsha. Thank you everyone for joining us. A lot of people joined. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone.
Let me